as we are busy with two kingdoms of bacteria, the archaea bacteria and the eubacteria, derived from the two domains, archaea domain and bacteria domain. Yes, the two out of the three, because the third one is the eukarya domain. Yeah, okay, now we are moving over to bacteria in nature. We are going to discuss what we use bacteria in our everyday life, how they help us. And then after that, we are going to discuss about the problems which bacteria also causes in our everyday life. What problems do bacteria bring to us human beings in everyday life? And then from there, we are also going to find out what other activities do bacteria do in nature. And then from there, we are going to discuss about where and how do they get their energy. Where and how do they get their energy from that. Then we are going to discuss about reproduction in bacteria. How do they reproduce? How do they reproduce to become many? And then the last one, we are going to discuss about how fast can bacteria multiply. How fast can bacteria multiply? So let's get back now to bacteria in nature, the uses of bacteria in our everyday lives. Okay, as it is written here, humans use certain bacteria to manufacture food products. Yes, this statement here, humans use certain bacteria to manufacture food products. Yes, it's true. Some of the bacteria are used to manufacture some of the food products that we eat in our everyday life. The cheese that we love so much, it's bacteria which are responsible in turning that milk and all the ingredients into a cheese. Yogurt, the delicious yogurt that we love so much. Yogurt also, bacteria were used to turn it into the yogurt that it is. All these processes, it's just that we are not told to go deeper into what was used to create that yogurt or to create the cheese. Otherwise, we could go deeper into that. But right now, know that bacteria are involved in making cheese. They're involved in making yogurt. Also, sour cream. They're involved in making sour cream. Talking of sour cream, even your sour milk, your omaere, it is bacteria making them sour like that. Yes, it is bacteria which makes them like that. Then there's pickles also. Pickles also are made also with the help of bacteria. Then this one, I don't know which language this one, whether it's Afrikaans or German or whatever. Sauerkraut. This one also, it is also made with the assistance of bacteria. And then apple cider also is one of the examples of the food substances where bacteria are involved. Yes, so it is not all bacteria which are bad, like the ones where we are going now. In the next slide, we are going to discuss about those bad bacteria. But now, these are the good bacteria which are responsible in making these food products for us. Yes, some bacteria are good for us. They help us make cheese, they help us make yogurt, they help us make sour cream, pickles, sauerkraut, apple cider, or maere, all those things. It is from some of the bacteria, the non-harmful ones. Okay, let's go now to the next slide where we are going to discuss about harmful bacteria. Like I said, not all bacteria are bad. Not all bacteria are harmful. Some bacteria, like you have seen on the previous slide, they are used to help us make food products. But there are also other bacteria that are harmful. So I will say not all bacteria are unharmful, because some are harmful. Yes, there are other bacteria which are harmful. These ones which are harmful, they cause the following problems to us. They cause tooth decay in our mouths. Yes, when you're not brushing your teeth and so on, it's bacteria which build up there and start eating up your teeth and cause tooth decay. Lyme disease is also caused also by bacteria, these harmful ones. Tetanus is also a disease. We all know tetanus. Tetanus is also a disease. It is also caused by these harmful bacteria. Tuberculosis, we all know it. It's a disease. Okay, tuberculosis, we all know what it is. It is also caused by bacteria, the harmful ones. Also, salmonella, also it's a disease caused by these harmful bacteria. And pneumonia. Pneumonia also is another disease caused by these harmful bacteria. So, like I said, some bacteria are useful and some bacteria are harmful. I might ask you in the test, or you might be asked in the test, can you name the diseases that are caused by harmful bacteria? Then you will name these ones: that tooth decay, Lyme disease, tetanus, tuberculosis, salmonella, and pneumonia. Yes, these are the diseases which are caused by harmful bacteria. Yes, we have the non-harmful ones which helps us make food, and we have the harmful ones which brings diseases. Okay, there are other uses of bacteria in nature also. Yeah, there are other uses, like the decomposition of dead organisms. If a dog or any animal is dead and nobody buried it, it is just there in the open. Later when it gets rotten, it is bacteria which helped make it get rotten. Bacteria, anything which is biodegradable, they help it to decompose it. Whether it's a plant, whether it's an animal, they decompose. It's bacteria which helps with recycling of materials. Like it says here, that bacteria can act as nature recyclers. Yes, they can act as nature recyclers. Bacteria in soil break down dead trees, leaves, and animals. Okay, and these bacteria are known as what? They are known as decomposers. Yes, now you know, decomposers. We've been saying this word decomposers in many different lessons. So we're actually referring to bacteria which are responsible for recycling materials in nature. Yes, that's what we were talking about. All right, we looked at the uses of bacteria in our everyday life to help us manufacture food products. Then we looked at the dangers or the diseases that bacteria brings to us. And now we looked at some of the uses bacteria have in nature, like decomposition of plants and animals that are dead in nature. Okay, now let's take a look at where do they get their energy. Where do bacteria get their energy? Okay, some bacteria are autotrophs. Autotrophs means that they make their own food. And other bacteria are both heterotrophic and autotrophic. Heterotrophic means they depend on other organisms for food. Okay, from the previous lesson, we know now that archaea bacteria, the archaea bacteria are the ones which are autotrophs. Okay, and the eubacteria, they are both heterotrophic and autotrophic. They are both heterotrophic and autotrophic. Let me put a nice arrow here. Okay, let me put, okay. Yeah, it's better. All right. The eubacteria, they are both autotrophic and heterotrophic, but the archaea bacteria alone, they are autotrophic. All right. Now, how do they obtain their energy? Archaea bacteria, which are autotrophic, these bacteria, they do what? They make their own food. They make their own food. How do they make their own food? By using sun energy. they use sun energy, and some of the energy they get it from chemicals. Okay, they take sun energy just like plants do in photosynthesis, and they use this energy to convert into food. And also they also use some chemicals, gets energy from some chemicals to make their own food. So that's what they do. Archaea bacteria alone, they make their own food. But eubacteria, we say they are heterotrophic. Heterotrophic means that they look for food. So some bacteria, they look for food, like the ones we're mentioning now, decomposers, the ones that help decompose dead organs, organisms, and those bacteria also which brings us, how can I say this, brings us diseases. They are also decomposers, like those ones which are involved in tooth decay, they eat up our teeth. They are also decomposers. Then there's also the ones also we use when we are making a yogurt and so on. They are feeding on this milk and all these other things. So they are all heterotrophic, these ones. Heterotrophic, these bacteria that seek out their food, they eat. So they are heterotrophic. And as it says here, that they feed off milk. They feed off milk, meat, and decaying materials. Yes, these are the eubacteria, heterotrophics. They feed on things. They feed on milk, yes, to turn it sour. They feed on meat to make it rotten. They feed on anything which is biodegradable, something made out of nature, a plant or a tree. A plant or an animal. They decompose these ones and get them rotten. All right. Eubacteria, also some of them exist as autotrophs. Others as heterotrophic and others as autotrophs. So those that exist as autotrophs, they also make their own food. So in other words, Archaea bacteria alone are autotrophs. They make their own food by using sun energy and chemical energy. But eubacteria on the other side, they are both autotrophs and also heterotrophs, meaning they both make their own food as autotrophs, and they also depend on other organisms for food as heterotrophs. So that is about how they get their energy. Okay, now let's go to reproduction in bacteria. How do they reproduce? As we know, reproduction is making new organisms that are similar to ourselves. All right, they reproduce via the process we call binary fission. How does binary fission take place? All right, this is where one cell divides to form two identical cells. Cells. You can see here there's one, but it ended up there. They are now two. One divides into two. Okay, the process involves only one parent, therefore it is considered asexual. The process involves only one parent, therefore it is considered asexual reproduction. Yes, the way they reproduce, it does not need female and male. Just one cell alone will divide. As you can see in this state, it's alone. Here it's starting to divide. Here it is now really dividing. Stage 4, you can see it's starting to cut. Stage 5, it is done. It is now into 2. 1 became 2. All right, here are the steps. Number 1, DNA replicates. The inside one, this which you see here in the center, it's DNA in the cells. First, the DNA replicates, it divides into 2 like what happened here. When it's done, then the cell also starts to divide, and then at the end of the day you have two cells. That's how they reproduce to prevent extinction. That's how bacteria reproduce to prevent extinction of the bacteria population. Okay, that was about how they reproduce. Now finally, let's take a look at how fast do bacteria multiply after when they are busy reproducing. It says here, under ideal conditions. Under ideal conditions, let me get back here. It says here, under ideal conditions, bacteria can reproduce as often as every 20 minutes. Imagine after 20 minutes they reproduce. After 20 minutes they reproduce. Very fast. Very fast. Human beings takes like 9 months for a child to be formed, be reproduced. But now with bacteria is 20 minutes. 20 minutes. 2, 4, 6. So in an hour, they will reproduce 3 times. This is very fast. All right, so that is about how bacteria multiply. They multiply as often as after 20 minutes. As you can see here in this diagram, it starts here. Within few minutes, there are many. As you can see, within a short time, they fill up. They fill up. Okay? Now we are done with bacteria. We are done with bacteria. In the next lesson, we are going to discuss about this skin domain here. We are going to discuss about the eukarya domain, and then we'll go into all its kingdoms. We are going to discuss all its kingdoms. All right. Thank you very much for your time. Watch these videos over and over. Where you don't understand, you will send me a voice note. Then I will get back to you and explain. Thank you very much for your time.